This fallacy is called an appeal to fear. Appeal to fear. Now again, broad category. What broad category are we in? Last class, Sophia? That's a subcategory. Very good. What broad category is appeal to emotion in? Sophia? It's a tough one. It sounds like a bunch of other words. Relevance. Very good. Very good. Fallacies of relevance. So broad category, fallacies of relevance. Subcategory, appeals to emotion. What emotion do we think this one deals with? Thank you. Very good. Appeals to fear. So we got the name. What do we need next?
All three of them, okay?
Go on. Definition. Excellent. Here's what I would like you to write as a definition for appeal to fear. Making someone okay, so again, Jackson, we're going to meet after class because there's we'll talk about the presentation, okay? So making someone feel afraid instead of providing a logical argument. Yes?
Can I possibly give an example for it?
Sure.
Say like if you say Bob and his mom are having an argument about why he did not do dishes, and he said that because back then he had to do because he had to do homework, and then his mom because his mom didn't have a big comment for him, the fact that he has to do his homework, he has to do stuff like that. So she said if you don't because of the fact that you don't do this, I'm going to ground you.
Yeah, that'd be an example, right? Yes, Janessa, do you need the definition again? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So the definition for an appeal to fear is making someone feel afraid instead of providing a logical argument. Instead of providing a logical argument. So for example, I'm going to give a long example. I'm going to tell you how to shorten it for your flashcards. So here's an example. Let's say we're having a debate about the benefits of doing homework. And folks, there are benefits of doing homework. Now, you might not feel like it. You might not think there are. We're going to talk about them actually in just a second. Well, let's say we're talking about the benefits of doing homework, and the student brings up a good reason why we shouldn't do homework. Mr. Gotza says, if you don't do your homework, then I'm trying to think of one that's not like too ridiculous. Okay, if you don't do your homework, then we'll have a quiz every single class for the rest of the semester. Instead of talking about why it's beneficial to do your homework, I am simply trying to make you feel afraid to kind of not have to deal with the argument. So here's a good way to write that down, an example. We'll just shorten it. If you don't do your homework, so write this down in your notes. If you don't do your homework, then we will have a quiz every single class. If you don't do your homework, then we will have a quiz every single class. Now, folks, one of the many benefits of doing homework is it actually helps you remember stuff. Studies show that students forget about 60% of what they learn from one class to the next if they don't do homework. It's a pretty startling number, actually. You forget more than half of what you learn from one class to the next if you don't do homework. Okay, now folks, I have a question for you. Is it always illogical to be afraid?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That is the correct response. Let's say one day Mr. Grotzik came into class. I had a tiger on a leash. I said, folks, I haven't fed this tiger in a week.
Oh
no. And I click, take it off the leash, close the door, and run away.
You'd get away with murder.
Probably wouldn't. There's cameras. Right? Not in the classroom, in the hallways. Right? Folks, would it be logical to be afraid at that time?
Yeah. You're facing an unleashed, one hungry tiger upon kids.
Yep.
That would be scary.
That would be a reasonable time to be afraid. And folks, fear is not necessarily bad. Right? Sometimes fear is a logical response. So that leads us to our, it's not up there anymore, to our hata, or how to avoid. Show, here's the how to avoid. Show how fear is the logical response. Show how fear is the logical response. One more time. Show how fear is the logical response. Okay. Appeals to fear are particularly troublesome. They are particularly nasty because of what they do to your brain. Now, we're not going to go into it in too much detail. It's actually something I talk about in a lot more detail in my rhetoric class, my 9th grade class. All you need to know is that essentially what happens when a person is afraid is that your brain kind of shuts down. It specifically shuts down your critical thinking centers and your memory centers. That's why when you're afraid, when you're nervous about a test, it can sometimes be difficult to remember things for that test and or quiz. Your brain's natural response. So let's say a politician is talking to a crowd and maybe their ideas don't have very sound logic. An easy thing to do is to make your audience afraid of something because it literally shuts down their critical thinking brains. Something to be on the lookout for, something to be aware of. Okay, any questions about appeal to fear? Do we see why that's bad logic? See why that's a weak argument? Makes someone feel afraid? Okay. Awesome. So we will have our first student presentation, which is going to be Maya, actually. Now, folks, in-person folks, I need everyone to go ahead and log onto Zoom. Join the Zoom call. Maya's going to be sharing her screen, her slides on it,